चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So welcome all of you for this sixth session on the course on life lessons from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, entitled Karma Yoga, Sannyasa Yoga. Means the perfection of renunciation. Renunciation means what to accept, what to reject. Just unless when you're walking forward, you have to remove one leg and put leg one forward. The sannyas yoga means people become afraid when they heard sannyas, which means we give up everything. No, we give up by accepting something, and that way we progress in life. So we'll go to the presentation. Just okay. So here, this chapter is entitled Action in Krishna Consciousness. In the first chapter, Arjuna is talking about Vikarma. Vikarma means how in the pursuit of happiness we'll end up in suffering. For example, Dhritarashtra was interested in the war, Duryodhana was interested in the war, and even Pandava, Krishna, Arjuna also was interested in the war. So, but all of them wanted something out of this war. Basically, that is the way the world functions now. We want something from this world. We want to be enjoy. And the problem is this enjoyment leads to only suffering. So if you analyze carefully, every world the motive is just enjoy. But that just enjoy leads to suffering only. So that could be foreseen by Arjuna, being an intelligent disciple, that if he were to fight this war, it will not bring any happiness for him. On the contrary, it will cause suffering because he cannot bear to see others suffer due to this war. That's why he is compassion. And second thing is, if all of them die, with whom we will enjoy all the kingdom? Supposing you build a big house and there's nobody to stay with you, how can you enjoy that? Similarly, he is also saintly by nature. Although he is a Kshatriya, and a Kshatriya has given the liberty to kill the enemy, but at the same time, he is fearful of the sinful reactions because Kshatriya is also a dharma, which means it has to be done under regulative principles. So if he were to kill his elders and his family members and relatives and friends and well-wishers, so what will be the consequences? One of them is that the family traditions will be lost, the elders are killed, and then there will be a lot of disturbance in the society, and that will affect the all-round welfare. So in this condition, he decides not to fight. So because he thought this is Vikarma. Vikarma means the results will be harmful. Then we see Krishna instructs him about Sankhya Yoga, or he analyzes about the difference between the soul and the body. So unless you know something is temporary and something is permanent and they have relative value, you cannot progress in life. We know some things are permanent value, some things are temporary value, but we have to give them value accordingly. So therefore, Krishna instructs him about Sankhya Yoga, and by this analysis of the difference between soul and body, Krishna tries to encourage Arjuna to do his duty or karma. Because why do we do activities? Because we want to exist, we want to get knowledge, we want happiness. That's the common goal of all living entities. And having come to the human form of life, unlike the animals which are engaged in Vikarma, we want to set some rules and regulations. So we know if for the effective functioning of society, some rules and regulations are required. So, but these rules and regulations are man-made. So it is always possible that someone is enjoying and someone is suffering by this whole system. Therefore, we have to identify a goal for this karma. If all of us have the same goal, just like we're moving on the traffic roads, if all of us agree on a common goal, then it is possible to facilitate the movement. Similarly, although we want to do activity for this pleasure, still unless we have a unified goal, we are not going to be able to align ourselves. So therefore, we come to the process of Karma Yoga that is given in the Varnashrama system, where we have divisions according to the guna, qualities, and activities. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. These are natural divisions. Nobody claim this by birthright. You may be administrator, or you can be, that is according to your personal choice. Now, or as guided by the authorities. The Karma Yoga is two divisions. One is Sakama Karma, where your motivation is only to enjoy the results. There are some people who are motivated by the results only. But the problem is, we cannot decide the results because there are many factors involved in action, as we will see in this chapter also. So we cannot say that I am the only cause for the results and I enjoy the result. So therefore, we have to go one step further. That is known as Nishkama Karma Yoga, where we understand that I'm not the only doer. There are many factors. So I will be a little detached from the results in the sense that I will do my work perfectly, but still, if there's something beyond my control and the results don't turn out the way I expected, I will accept that and move forward by continuing to do my activities. Further, it is not that all the time we do only for our benefit. We have so many obligations to the members in society and our family members and so many forefathers, so many obligations we have. So I work not only for myself, but for others also, even if I don't get any profit out of it. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. For this, one requires some intelligence. Just like a child is there, he's only inclined to his own interests. But as he grows, he understands that he is part of society. He works with buddhi or intelligence. Now, going one step further, although we are trying to live in this kind of system where we want to serve others, still it is possible that we may not be satisfaction depending on whom we are serving. If the person whom we are serving is not perfect, then he will not be satisfied or able to guide us further in life. Therefore, we have to approach the highest authority, and that is Lord Krishna, who is Bhagavan, who has his opulences to fullest extent. And when we serve him, that is known as Bhakti Yoga. And by serving the Supreme Lord, the advantages, we can satisfy all the living entities and also coexist with material nature. So this was the summary of the second chapter, where Krishna gives Arjuna many instructions on Sankhya Yoga, the analytical study, where some people are interested in analytical knowledge. And then they want to act on that knowledge, but then along with knowledge, action, they want knowledge to improve their activities. But then they also have to be detached from the results. But the best detachment is possible when we are attached to the Supreme Lord. So in the third chapter also, Krishna talk about the Varnashrama system, karma, vikarma, and akarma, action and inaction, inaction. So mainly, action and inaction means, although it looks like you're not doing any activity, you are actually essentially doing something. As I gave the example of High Court judge, it looks like he's simply sitting silently and hearing both the arguments. But because of his higher knowledge, he is able to give a judgment. Although the actual work is being done by the lawyers or the clerks in the court, he is being because the exercise of higher intelligence, he is able to do a better work than the so-called hard workers. So that is action and inaction. It looks like inaction that he's sitting silently, but he's doing a highest action. It's called lazy intelligence. And then you have inaction in action. That doing action, but you're not getting, the reaction doesn't affect you. Any action has to have a reaction. But if you're acting in such a way that the reaction doesn't affect you, for example, if you're a warrior, you're a army man, you're using the gun and killing the enemies. And for that, you're giving a reward. Normally, if you take the gun and kill someone, you will be punished severely, even if it's your own family member. But because you are fighting on behalf of the government, although you are acting in a harmful way, but because it is under a direction of the authority, rewarded. In other words, the action, it's inaction in action. So like this, Krishna talks about the perfection of work. Basically, he explains about the cycle of sacrifice. That is how we, by performing sacrifice according to this, rains are produced, and from the rains you get grains, and from the grains a man eats and produce offspring. And this way there is a cycle of satisfying the demigods, and demigods satisfy the living entities. But then the results obtained from the demigods are temporary because they themselves are temporary. And therefore Krishna says that one intelligent person worships him. Now the question may be, why does one doesn't worship Krishna, instead worship the demigods? So Krishna explained that is lust born of contact with passion and ignorance. It becomes transformed into wrath and anger, which is the enemy. So this lust has to be conquered through knowledge. And therefore in the next chapter, 4th chapter, he talks about transcendental knowledge, knowledge which is beyond the three modes, because karma yoga can be performed within the three modes, sattva, raja, and tamoguna. And it binds us, either it takes you to the heavenly planets or keeps you in the earthly planets or send you to hellish planets. So we don't want to go up and down, up and down. So we want to go beyond this birth, death, old age cycle means, then we have to obtain transcendental knowledge. And that Krishna tells to Arjuna that he spoke this, it's very ancient and time immemorial knowledge. It's as old as having spoken to the sun god. And without the sun, nothing can function. And he is able to do his work perfectly because he has received this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Obviously, the Bhagavad Gita which he received was many number of verses, because Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedas, and Vedas are unlimited. So Krishna spoke to sun god, and Arjuna was also present, but he doesn't remember. Just like we also might have heard Bhagavad Gita in our previous life, but we have all forgotten it. But it can be revived through the mercy of the spiritual master. Now Krishna reminds Arjuna that he spoken to the sun god, and it has been received through the disciplic succession of saintly kings. Saintly kings means they know how to execute or implement this Bhagavad Gita in practice for the benefit of society. But in the course of time, it was gradually lost, and therefore Krishna speaks this to Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, who is a devotee and friend, and he is not envious of Krishna, which means he acknowledges Krishna's position and willing to follow his instructions and apply it in practice. Now, in the course of this 4th chapter, Krishna also talks about what is the benefit of this transcendental knowledge. Basically, it can burn up all the reactions of our sinful actions. Sin means something which is done in ignorance against our original nature. And that can be overcome through this transcendental knowledge, which is also compared to a boat in the ocean. Supposing you're in an ocean where there is every possibility that you can get drowned or eaten by the animals or the water. So if you're on a secure boat, which is guided by a captain and a favorable breeze, and you can cross this ocean. So this knowledge is said to be like a boat which can cross us over this material existence. And it's also compared to a fire. Normally, if you want to burn garbage, a large amount of garbage is there, you need a large fire to completely burn it to ashes. So this Bhagavad Gita knowledge can burn up the reactions of our sinful activities. And so this way, Krishna concludes this 4th chapter. And at the end of 4th chapter, Krishna again reminds Arjuna that he should fight. So, but now Arjuna thinks that by knowledge I can avoid work. And that's what he thinks renunciation means, to stop work. Normally when we say sannyas, he thinks we give up something. But there's nothing we can give up, because everything is given by God and we have to utilize it. So sannyas means, real sannyas means to learn how to utilize the body, mind, senses, and the material resources provided by God. That is real sannyas. And that knowledge is being taught by Krishna to Arjuna, is known as action in Krishna consciousness. The same activity, when done with a higher consciousness, just like, for example, you are asked to perform a surgery, and now you may flatly refuse, saying that I don't know anything about surgery, so better I not. But there may be some person like a criminal, he's readily come forward to kill the other person because he thinks there's some gain by killing this person. He can snatch his money or something. That is vikarma. And then some person is hesitating to do some activity because he doesn't have the knowledge required or the intelligence required to do that activity. But then let us say we are giving him sufficient education and training, then he may go ahead and perform the work. But still, motivation is money. If you pay him the money, he'll do the surgery. The next level is the person says, okay, I have done enough of surgeries and I have earned enough money and fame. So let me do this surgery or something for the benefit of society. And then he goes one step further. He thinks that I am a doctor and I have acquired some merit and people respect me. So let me guide society in such a way that they will not get disease at all in the first place. So why think about further treatment? So like this, there are different stages of karma or activity. So the progressively we increase in our consciousness. To that extent, we can refine our activity. The same activity which will bind us can also liberate us. So in the earlier chapter, Krishna talked about how sacrifice leads to knowledge. Sacrifice means instead of doing the work in the way we want to do, we do work as prescribed by the authorities of the scriptures and as prescribed by Krishna, because he is the one who has provided all the resources. If when you do like that, then it's known as sacrifice. What are we sacrificing? We are giving up the mentality to think that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, or I will do the way I want to do. You are giving up that mentality and willing to do as directed by others. So that is known as this kind of sacrifice. If you do, then it should lead to knowledge. So that is the test whether you are really doing sacrifice. Now, Krishna also emphasized the importance of this knowledge, because unless you have knowledge, you cannot improve the quality of your work. And then you will know how to do action but not be affected by the results, so that you can do better. Because ultimately we get satisfaction through the work only, not the result is not really satisfying us. Sometimes you cross that stage where you are interested in the result. You are interested in being satisfied by the work itself, because you know the results sometimes become favorable, unfavorable. But if you are attached to the work and improve the quality of the work, anytime success may come behind you. Now there is jnana and renunciation. What it means, sometimes you have to accept something, sometimes you should learn to reject the same thing. So that intelligence is required. Therefore, Krishna says, armed with yoga, stand and fight. In any case, Arjuna, whether he heard Bhagavad Gita, after hearing Bhagavad Gita and before hearing Bhagavad Gita, his aim was to fight only. But when he fought for Krishna, under direction of Krishna, just like when you perform a surgery as guided by the medical institution, then you are going to benefit others. The same fighting he only did, but because he followed the order of Krishna, he could bring all-round benefit. Although so many people died, they got better bodies and they got liberation because they fought for Dharma. Now, the one problem is Arjuna thinks that renunciation means avoiding work. Just like we also sometimes intelligently try to avoid some work. We think if I don't attend this session, I get this benefit. If I attend this session, I'll get this benefit. So this is how we plan our work. Just a minute. So generally we think that supposing I'm a student now, I think while I'm a student, I cannot work, or while I'm working, I cannot study. But there are some intelligent people, by the work itself, they can get knowledge, and by that knowledge, they can do better work. So this is what Krishna tries to do, but Arjuna is not so expert. So at this stage, he thinks that if I have to get knowledge, I have to stop work, or if I have to work, then I have to stop knowledge. So in this chapter, Krishna begins with Arjuna asking questions, which is better, work in devotion or renunciation work. Generally, people think if I become a devotee of Lord, if I take to Bhagavad Gita, I will not be able to perform my normal duties. I will not be able to live like a normal person in society. This is the biggest concern. So that is not the case, because if by learning Bhagavad Gita, you can perform, because if you see the sun god, he is doing his job perfectly. So why is he able to do? Because he is knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So if you want to live in society also and also attain spiritual world, you have to have the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So this is what we saw, Nishkama Karma. I mean, it's detached from the results of the activity, but not the activity. And Krishna also will talk about the peace, how to attain peace. So peace doesn't mean you don't do any activity. Normally people think peace means I had to go to an isolated place or avoid some work, avoid some people, avoid some situations. No, peace comes when you harmonize yourself with yourself, other living entities, and material nature. That is real peace. Uh, So in the fifth chapter also, Lord gives about a glimpse of Ashtanga Yoga, which is an alternative way to attain peace. But the best peace is if you are, supposing you are in the midst of a person who is very peaceful and who is not agitated in the situation, then also that is one way. Uh, If you try to attain peace by yourself, that is one method. Or if you are surrounded by people who are peaceful, that's also can fetch. So this is what Krishna will clarify. So in this fifth chapter, we have these sections. One is how Nishkama karma is equal to but easier than renouncing work. So better than avoiding work is to work with detachment from the results. Because we don't know, sometimes one work will get different types of results may come out of the work. So we cannot be very adamant and say that I will work only if this result comes. We don't know what the performance of Nishkama karma is working with the detachment. The platform of knowledge. So, what is the benefit of what is the knowledge which we require in this world? People have many conceptions of what is knowledge. Knowledge is something which doesn't entangle us. Entanglements, we should be very clear as to who is the doer. There are three, at any moment, if you carefully analyze, there are three doers. One is the material nature is doing. Supposing I'm driving to one place to another, the vehicle is doing some work. I'm not doing. I cannot act like the vehicle. The vehicle is a machine. It can do something which I cannot do. Uh, I can do something which the machine cannot do. That is driving the vehicle. So that is because a living entity is required. No matter how sophisticated the machine may be, a living pilot or a living driver should be there. Now above this, there is the super soul, who's bringing the soul and machine together. Just like the government is there, they have provided some road, they have provided some traffic, some facilities by which this driver and the vehicle can function properly. Similarly, the soul, super soul, and material nature, they have their respective roles to play in the accomplishment of any action. Any action, if you is happening, means these three doers must be there. That is, the soul must be there, living entity must be there, material nature is there, and super soul is there. These are like three parallel lines which will never intersect, but they move together. Now, the fourth section is about liberation through focusing one's consciousness on the super soul. So, when the soul is concerned, it has two options. One is it can be attracted to the material nature. It will always be focused on, supposing I am, same example, I am driving a vehicle. If I am only thinking about how the vehicle is working, not working, but I don't know how to solve the problem, my life will be miserable. Suppose I don't know that there's a person who designed this vehicle, or if the vehicle gives some problem, whom should I go? Then I will be really frustrated. I will like to get rid of this vehicle because it's giving me more problems. Although I thought it's giving me pleasure, it's giving me suffering. So similarly, the soul, when it tries to enjoy this material world independent of the Supreme Lord, it ultimately gets experience of suffering only. So then it looks towards the super soul who has designed the material nature as well as the living entity. So therefore, there's a process of Ashtanga Yoga where we gradually learn to detach ourselves from material nature. So what is causing this attachment is just like an aircraft is there. Why it is on the ground? Because there's a force of gravity acting on it. So like that, how is the soul entangled in the body? Because of the movements of the 6 kinds of air, 5 kinds of air are there. And these airs, they ground the soul within the body. They keep the body, soul within the body. So to gradually free the soul from the body, we have to perform this Ashtanga Yoga, as which is 8 stages are there. Ashta means 8, Anga means eightfold yoga system. Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Samadhi, like this. Uh, there are prana, how to breath restrain, restraining the food, restraining the sleeping, restraining recreation. Like this, there are 8 stages. We'll see in the next chapter. But this is a very mechanical process. But and therefore it cannot be practiced by everyone. Although there is a benefit that you are able to control the mind and senses and elevate the soul, still you need help from outside. And that help can be offered by the Supreme Lord. Why? Because he is the uh, proprietor, he is the beneficiary, and he is the well-wisher. Supposing you are trying to do something by yourself, you take the manual and start following using some equipment. It is better if someone who has designed the equipment or he knows your limitations can come and guide you. So this Ashtanga process is okay. It's like a self-help method. But if you get help from someone who's mastered this, and the only person who has mastered the yoga process, Krishna, who's known as the Yogeshwara, because he has designed this entire yoga process to attain him. So that is the ultimate peace formula where we surrender to Krishna. So this is some kind of a summary of this chapter. Now in the first section, Arjuna asks Krishna whether renunciation is superior to working for devotion. Whether I make my own choices of what work to do and what not to do. What will be the guiding principle? If I like that work or if I get the result I want, I will do the work. If I don't like the work, I don't like the result, then I won't do the work. This is our general conception of renunciation of work. The other thing is, I work for someone. And in that process, even if something doesn't work the way I want or I don't get the result the way I want, still I continue because I like the person for whom I am doing it. Just like you're serving your family members. You may not like to do the cooking or whatever you're doing, but because you're doing it for a family member, you enjoy doing the same work which you would not normally if you were doing it for others. So that's why Krishna tells this working in devotion is better than avoiding work. Krishna replies, devotion is superior to the renunciation of work, and that one who is detached from the results of his work is the one who is truly renounced. So this way, when you make your objective in life is to please others, especially if that person whom you are pleasing is an authority, higher authority, then you won't mind doing the work or the results of the work. That is real detachment or renunciation of work. It doesn't mean avoiding work, but improving the quality of the work and the attitude behind the work. Although the results of renunciation and devotion service are ultimately the same, devotion is superior, for the devotion can quickly achieve Krishna. Now, if you keep a goal or a person to guide you, then it is much better than you evaluate yourself. You say this is good work, bad work, then there's no end to your confusion. But if you have someone who is an authority and you follow his direction, then you are better situated. So this is gradual progression of the chapters of Bhagavad Gita. The second chapter, Krishna explains about the difference between the soul and the body and how the soul is entangled in this body by his own activities and his own mind. And how to get out is through intelligence. And that intelligence is provided in the person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. So when you improve the quality of the work by understanding what is the system and whom I should serve, then you can overcome the lust through transcendental knowledge. And that knowledge has to be given by a person who is beyond the 3 modes. So when Arjuna asked this question whether renunciation of work or work in devotion is which is better, then Krishna tells him that both are good, but devotional service is better than renunciation. So there are 2 paths. One is path of action, and the other is path of renunciation of actions. This is known as sannyasa. One is you get happiness through doing the work itself. The other is you get happiness through intelligent work, smart work we call it. That is known as, but both cause of liberation. What is the path of action? It has two divisions. One is fruitive action. Fruitive action means I do the work because I get this result. If I don't get the result, I don't do this work. That is one kind of. Sometimes you go to the bribe. Sometimes, just an example I'm saying, some government works won't move unless you pay them some bribe, because it's a fruitive action for them. The result is motivating the action. And but this kind of a fruitive action binds one to the cycle of birth and death. Why? Because you do some activity, you get partly the result, partly you don't get the result. So because you didn't get the result, you do another activity, and there also you get part result and partly you don't get the result. So like this, you keep on trying one activity or other, and but still your goal is not achieved. So this may take you to take many different births. Now, so therefore, if sense gratification is the goal of life, just like an animal is there, it is taken birth in one species, it is not happy, so it takes another species. There also it's not happy, then another species. So this is the problem if sense gratification is the goal, because your senses as such are very limited senses. With that, knowledge which you gather is also very limited, and therefore your judgment is also going to be very limited. Just like a child is there, it can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch in a limited way. So therefore, it cannot get full knowledge, and therefore, its decision is going to be very wrong. So the next one is actions in Krishna consciousness. That is known as work in devotion. Karma Yoga has three divisions. One is without transcendental knowledge and with transcendental knowledge. Without transcendental, someone tells you and you just do it. But then at one stage, if you have that knowledge yourself, you have digested the knowledge and then do the work, then the quality is much better. That is happening after the fourth chapter, and that is Krishna consciousness, where you have realized knowledge. One is theoretical knowledge and then practical knowledge. Then you have better understanding. So devotional service action Krishna consciousness is the only way to get rid of the material bondage of or come out of the cycle of birth and death, because God has given us this life and this material world for a purpose. If we utilize this properly, then it can free us. But if you don't know the purpose, then we entangle ourselves more and more. Now, action and full knowledge strengthens one's advancement in real knowledge. So gradually we should get higher and higher knowledge. Just like as we grow through school or college, we get higher and higher knowledge so that we can solve problems better. Now, in the path of renunciation or jnana, a spiritual one cultivates knowledge about his own self, and but we are not living in isolation. We are always in the company of material nature, we are company of other living entities, and we are super soul is always accompanying us. If we are conscious of all these factors, then we'll be able to improve the quality of work. Or if we think we are in isolation and I'm the only person and I know there's no God, then it affects the quality of the work. So incomplete meditation is known as Falgu Vairagya. Falgu Prapinchadaya Buddha Haribandha. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to this. There's nothing which is unrelated in this world. We think, okay, this person is related to me, this person is not related. This belongs to me, this doesn't belong to me. So this is our relative conception that we don't see the interrelationship between things. We have this big data analysis. We have so much data that we are not able to process the data and generate useful information. But when you're able to establish relationship, proper relationship with data, then it becomes useful information. Similarly, when we don't see the relationship between living entities, this material nature and the Supreme Lord, then we artificially renounce, we accept something, we reject something whimsically. And but a person who's in full knowledge, that is a devotee who understands this overall arrangement, he is able to use this material nature perfectly, just like Arjuna. He understood how to fight the battle better because he could see what is happening, how everything is perfectly controlled by the Lord. Given a system which is perfectly assembled and managed, you would like to be part of the system because you know that it's going to benefit you and others. But if you are given a system which is not so well managed, you won't like to do the work. Now, Arjuna understood that the whole battle was perfectly orchestrated by for all-round benefit. Then he could perform his duty of Kshatriya perfectly. The sannyasi neither hates nor desires and is free from all dualities. So, what is our motivating force is duality. We like something, we don't like something, there's a profit, there's loss, there can have distress. This is a guiding force. But this can become a stumbling block. Just like when you're on the ocean, the waves are going up and down, but if you're not in a proper boat, you will simply waste your time going up and down and not moving forward. So if you have this attitude that I like this, I don't like this, then just like a doctor is there, if he thinks one day, okay, I will not perform surgery, another day, yes, I will do surgery, then what kind of a doctor is going to be? One patient may die, one patient may survive. So he should not be discouraged by that. Rather, he should learn to gain knowledge through each experience. So such a person is liberated even in the material world, who can overcome these dualities, even though just like you're in the ocean, the same ocean can help you to cross it. If you're on the boat. Now, this is perfect. He has perfect transcendental knowledge. Sannyasi means not he is whimsically giving up society. He's acting, he's also of the city, but compared to others, he's acting with full knowledge and realization. So is the result of perfect transcendental knowledge. So he knows that the soul is similar to God and different from matter. And if he just like if you find someone who's aligned with you, then you gain strength. But if you think I'll fight alone, then you become weak. Similarly, when the soul unites with the super soul, then he is able to better equipped to handle nature, which can become the cause for his suffering. Now, there are two types of yoga. One is Sankhya Yoga, where you just try to analyze this word. You try to, even assuming you don't believe in God, if you analyze this world, there are some scientists who have come to conclude that God exists. There are some scientists who never believed in reincarnation. Or if you see many scientists, even the Newton, all this, when they observed this, how the planets are evolving, or even Einstein for that matter, they came to the conclusion just by studying from the scientific perspective itself, by analytical perception itself, that there should be a creator and he is a perfect designer. And other person, he doesn't know all this sophistication, but he just blindly follows. Supposing you want to understand how the medicine is working, and then only you will accept the medicine, that is one way. Another is, I don't know about this medical science, but there's a doctor who's qualified and well trusted. So if I follow him, I will get cured. So like that, Sankhya Yoga is one way, Karma Yoga is another way, but they both lead to spiritual realization and same conclusion. They're like, supposing you're building the railway line, you work from both the ends, and at one point will meet. So this analytical study of the soul from matter can also be achieved by working on the platform of the soul or in Bhakti Yoga. One who shows both Sankhya and Karma same sees as they are. So either you stick to one process or the other process. If your goal is the same, or you work as designed by the Lord, then you achieve same benefit. Because we have different tendencies, different inclinations are there. So we may work differently, but as long as you work to the same goal. Now, this next verse, Krishna talks about dry renunciation, or is too difficult and distressful. If I keep on telling you, don't this, don't do this, don't do this, then you get frustrated beyond a point. What is it I'm supposed to do? So therefore, better than dry renunciation is you start doing the work, but you improve the goal. You keep on refining your goal and the way you do the work. So some people think that you have to reject this word. I will avoid some activities. I will reject God. So this is the way they want, because if they accept God, they accept rules and regulations, then it'll majority may not like to follow God. So make it simple. They dry renunciation. They reject everything, thinking that it doesn't exist. Supposing you have a big disease, and you think, okay, I forget about this disease, I don't care about it. That is not intelligence. So there are some section of people who artificially renounce. And for that, they follow some scriptures, which selectively they follow some scriptures. They say devil side scriptures. Sometimes the intelligent person, he misuses it, and instead of doing the same, he will reject that work itself. So So better than that is karma yoga. Karma yoga means you are doing activity but under superior guidance. And it's much easier because you're always given by some authority. And it gives liberation. It frees you from bondage. So what do? They study relevant literature, and particularly Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered to be the essence of all the Puranas, and it's the summary of all the Vedanta Sutras. So in this way, if we follow the process of devotion, we can be happy in this material world, and also our next destination is fixed, that is the spiritual world. Now, this performance of Nishkama Karma Yoga, working with detachment. How do we do it? A pure soul doesn't become entangled although working because he fixes his consciousness upon Krishna. The same example, when you are working for a higher authority, you don't get affected by the work or the results because there's always someone to guide you even if you fail in your activity. So he knows that while the body acts, he does nothing, material is simply engaged in their sense objects. Supposing I'm driving from place A to B, and I know that my vehicle has these limitations, and if I utilize it properly, it will lead me to destination. And if something so that there's something rectify it, and I don't have to worry about it. Or so like this, if I can understand clearly what is the function of the body and what is the function of the soul, then these changes which are happening in the body will not affect the soul. So one who does his duty without attached, steadily acting with body, mind, intelligence, senses, just for the satisfaction of Krishna, because these have been provided by God. The body we have, the mind which we have, the intelligence and senses, these belong to God. And if we ask him for guidance, and this is how, supposing you have bought a sophisticated instrument, and if you follow the manual or the training, then you get the best out of it. So if we do this, utilize these things as guided by Krishna, then attains peace. While one greedy for the fruits of his labor becomes entangled. Supposing you steal something, try to use it. There are many instances where people stole something and they didn't know how to use it and just threw it away. So this is what happens to a person who doesn't have knowledge about God. And is one who works in devotion, a pure soul working in devotion has controlled mind and senses is dear to everyone. So how we can make ourselves dear to everyone? If we are able to control our mind and senses, then we can work perfectly, and that will benefit others, and they will start liking you, and you will start liking them because you won't disturb them and they will not disturb us. So seeing all living entities, spirit souls, part and parcel of the Supreme, hence dear to all and all living entities. When you see everything, every living entity as part and parcel of God, connected with God, and the material nature in connection with God, then you can perfectly coexist with material nature and living entities. So just an analogy is given. Just if you put water to the root of a tree, the entire tree gets nourishment. Or you put food to the stomach, the entire body gets fed properly. So by satisfying God or Krishna, then you satisfy all the living entities and also coexist material nature. So what is the benefit of this? Never because work is not based on desire of mind and senses, but based on Krishna's desire. Always the motivating force is the controller of both the living entities and the material nature. So here the person in divine consciousness. What is divine consciousness? Consciousness which is beyond the three modes of material nature. Consciousness in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance is always controlled by time. But when you're in divine consciousness, that is, when you're conscious about a person who is transmitted in three modes, then although engaged in activities, knows that only the material sense are engaged with objects and that is aloof from them. Just like you are different from the vehicle. The vehicle is governed by certain principles. You are working on different principles. They don't match. But if you harmonize yourself, then you can get the best benefit. So you should be very clear what the body is doing, what the mind is doing, what is the intelligence doing, what the ego is doing. These are all gross and subtle bodies. They have nothing to do with the soul. The soul is transcendental to this intelligence, mind, senses, ego, and sense objects. If you see these distinctions clearly, then you can engage in perfect life. Just like if you know exactly how the machine is working, you can get the best out of it. So similarly, if you understand well how the body is functioning, how the mind is functioning, how the intelligence is functioning, how the ego is working, then the soul can get the best out of this body. And that knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord because he knows this perfect arrangement. Supposing you have a vehicle, same example, if you know the person who has designed the vehicle, he tells you this is how it is and this is how it works, how you can use it, then you can get the best out of it. So Krishna is that person who can tell us how to use this mind, body, and senses. So whatever activity you observe around you is due to the interaction of the senses and the sense object. I see something and immediately I work on that. I hear something, smell, taste. Based on that, immediately the other senses start working. But just like the horses are there, they see something, they immediately run in the direction. But if I have control over the horses, they can lead me to my destination. So it's natural for the senses to be attracted to the sense objects. But if the senses are directed by the mind intelligence, then they can help you go to the destination and not get distracted by what you see, smell, taste, and touch. So in this way, one can become free, although appears to be engaged in affairs of the senses. So as long as you're in this world, you have to utilize all the senses properly. You cannot keep, say, I will close my eyes, I close my ears, I close my mouth and sit quietly. No, it's not possible. You will be forced to work in this world according to your body which you are acquired. And now, so, but at the same time, if you follow the authority, this will not entangle you. Now, performing duty without attachment and surrendering the results unto the Supreme. What does it mean, surrendering the results? Whenever you do some activity, there's bound to be a result. So then you again come back to the scriptures. Every step you follow the rule books, and then you how to proceed further. Just like if you are following a map, you're going from place A to place B. If you make a minor mistake, you can go off the track. That every step you are consulting the map or the book, guidebook. Similarly, surrendering the results means, yes, I did this action, I got the result. Now, how to use that result further in the next activity? So this way, if you are guided by the Supreme Lord, then leads to unaffected by sinful action. The moment we go against our nature, that is considered a sin. And immediately it produces a reaction which is not to my favor. So example is given the lotus leaf in water. The lotus leaf actually is living, it is on the water. But that water becomes dirty because it is stationary. When the water is moving, it becomes clean. But when the water is stationary, it becomes dirty. But at the same time, the lotus gets its energy from the sun. And from the sun, because it is getting the energy, it is able to remain pure. Although it is in contaminated water, because it is covered by a leaf. The lotus is surrounded by a leaf. On that leaf, water will not stick to it. So like that, we should live in this world and we take direction from, just like the lotus is getting its energy from the sun. When we get direction from the Supreme Lord, all we are in this material world which is contaminated by three modes, we are untouched by it. Just like there may be some dirty water, but if it's sterilized by the hot sun, it will really dry up. There's no scope for further germs. Now, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So why are we acting in this world? Why we should do our actions? To purify our consciousness. The same activity, if you do in a proper way, it will purify us, purify this mind, intelligence, and body. Just like a doctor is there, he may think, okay, let me not do a surgery because every day I have to cut open the body, so much blood is coming, so many infection is there. No, the other person is, he does the continue to do the surgery because this way his knowledge will improve and he can do better service to others. So this utilizing this body, mind, intelligence, purifying means it's purifying our consciousness so that you can utilize this body, mind, intelligence in a better way. So he is at once dovetailed with Krishna. So devotee means he works at every moment, he is taking guidance from God, either through scriptures or to the saintly people or by his conscious soul. He is one with desire and is devoid of the false ego. So every step he is guided by the Supreme Lord. Devotees attain unrated peace, non-devotees become entangled. So what is the benefit of acting in this way? Acting in Krishna consciousness with transcendental knowledge and working for the Supreme Lord under his direction is we become peaceful. Why? Because every step God is satisfied with us. Every moment, supposing a person is always satisfied with the work you are performing, he will automatically he'll promote you or give you a better package. So similarly, at every moment when we are following Krishna's guidance, he is happy with you and give further and further guidance. So that's why we can become peaceful. But if you go on your own way and you're satisfying yourselves, nor the other living entities, nor the Supreme Lord are coexisting with material nature, then we become more and more entangled. We continue to do mistake after mistake. So secret of Krishna consciousness realization that there is no existence of Krishna in the platform of awareness. So wherever we turn, we see Krishna's presence. We see that God is controlling everything, every entity, every aspect of our life. Then we turn towards Him, even in the greatest problem, and we find a solution. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, that whenever I become bewildered, I look to the pages of Bhagavad Gita and the rainbow comes to me. The cause of what is the cause of anxiety? When we don't understand the arrangement of the Lord, supposing I give you an instrument which you don't know how to use, very soon it will become anxiety, lamentation. Oh, I got this, I don't know what happened, like this. But if you know the system and work with that, then you are free from anxiety. So when one is functioning in the conception of duality, so why it is like this, why is like that, but if you're confused by the contrary things, then but the contrary things are required. Someone has set it up like that. There is left and the right and top and bottom. So these are opposing elements. They are there for a purpose, positive and negative. So if you don't understand that, then it becomes a cause of anxiety for us. This like this, the dualities of life, they are there for a purpose. And if you understand this by turning to God, then you become peaceful and then you are able to perform better. Now, uh, so basically, we have to understand the three doers. Any action is there, it is due to three forces. One is the soul, the material nature, and the super soul. There are some things which are done by purely by material nature. Just like a machine is working, it's perfectly designed as per the laws of mechanics. And but no matter how sophisticated the machine may be there, unless the living person is there, you cannot get the best out of it. And the living person and the machine alone is not sufficient. There should be a person superior to us who is given an establishment. So that is the super soul. So what is the role of the soul? Resides happily in the city of nine gates. The body has nine holes in it. We have two eyes, two ears, two nostrils, one mouth, an anus, and genitals. So through this, one can be happy only when these gates are functioning properly. When you're inhaling, exhaling, when you're hearing through one ear and letting out, the sound is passing through you one ear and going out the other ear. Like that, two eyes are there for focusing on an object. Then you have reproductive system, digestive system. These are nine gates. But one can reside happily in the city of nine gates when he learns to control his nature and mentally renounce all actions. He knows that all this is designed by someone. I don't have much control. I have to just utilize. Supposing a mobile is there, I cannot sit and repair the mobile or the laptop. I don't know about the mechanism. But if I know how to utilize it, I'll be happy. Similarly, this material nature is designed by the superior authority. If I use, my power is only limited to utilizing it. I cannot change the system. It is designed. It will work in a certain way. It may fail. It may not fail. But that is not in my hands. Only my hands is how best I can utilize it. So this Krishna consciousness teaches us how to make the best use of a bad bargain. So what is the role of modes of material nature? Now how material nature is working? It is working with the help of these three modes, Sattva, Raja, and Tamoguna. So just like you have sunrise, sunset, and noon time. Each time of the day you are able to do some activity which you are not able to do the other time. Supposing if you ask me to do something in the morning, I'll say no, I have to do it in the evening. And if I say to do some activity in the evening, I'll say no, I cannot do it now, I have to do it in the morning. So like this, there are three modes are controlling our activities according to time. There are, it does not create activities nor induces people to act nor creates fruits of action, all enacted by the modes of material nature. So we have to accept that whatever is happening to the body is fully under the control of the three modes. Just like I'm using a vehicle, the vehicle is as per the design. I cannot change the design by myself. I have to go to the person who has designed it. So I can only utilize it. So there are two energies, the living entity and the superior energy, and the inferior energy of the material nature. Why it is inferior? Because it is not conscious. It cannot function on its own. Either it should be controlled by the superior living entity, or it is under control of the Supreme Lord. Now the living entity is inferior to the Supreme Lord. So even if it tries to control this material nature, he still has to take direction from the Supreme Authority. Just like I cannot change the design of the vehicle, I have to go to the designer. So one in knowledge sees material nature as being under Lord's control, and thus the Lord is the ultimate performer and cause of all action. So how does the system work? I have a desire. I cannot use material nature to fulfill my desire by myself. I have to submit my desire to the Supreme Lord who controls this material nature, and then he may or may not sanction my desires. And according to his sanction, this material nature, we may or may not fulfill my material desires. So the super soul, how does the Lord enact this as witness? So this analogy is given just like a flower is there. When you're near the flower, you can smell it. So because the super soul is always accompanying the living entity, he knows what desires we have. Only he can fulfill our desires. We think that this person, that person will fulfill my desire, this system, this nature will. No, we cannot do that. Only the Supreme Lord, who's like who is very close to us, he can fulfill all our desires, and he is the one who knows our desires. At the same time, he is neutral to everyone. Sometimes he is allowing some person to do a criminal activity, and sometimes he's allowing a person to do a good activity. So he is neutral because he knows that the system is such that a person will learn by himself. If he does good, he will get good results. If he does bad, he will get bad results. By that way, he can learn. And if he looks for direction, God is also willing to help him at any moment. So basically, knowledge means knowing the relation between the soul, the super soul, and material nature. And this way, one can be detached from all the fruits. Sometimes we are getting good results, sometimes we get bad results. So if you understand this mechanism, that if I'm getting bad result means my desire was not proper, or I don't deserve what I desire, then we can adjust ourselves gradually. So to get this knowledge and avoid these confusions in life, we have to have transcendental knowledge, and that can be given by Krishna only, or his representative. And so what is that perfect knowledge? How is it received? And who is the perfect representative? All that was explained in the previous chapter. Now, in the last section, we see that fixing the consciousness on the Lord. So consciousness means awareness. Just like if you are in the sun, if you are in something or something, and if the sun were to appear, and something clearly. So if you are always conscious about the Lord, then the learned sage equally views the Brahmana. So we are seeing all types of living entities around us. We are seeing all manifestations of material nature around us, different objects we are seeing. But if able to see the presence of the super soul in all these living entities, he is the one who is controlling every, just like supposing vehicles, so many vehicles are moving on the road. But we know in each of these vehicles, one person is, one driver is there. Similarly, we find so many living entities who have bodies made of material nature. Different machines are there. Someone is body, Brahmana body, dog body, cow body, elephant. But in all those mechanisms, there's a living soul and the super soul. If you understand this mechanism properly, then you won't try to disturb the system. Rather, you accept the system and live harmoniously with it. He enjoys unlimitedly because conscience is fixed on it, knowing material pleasures as temporary, he doesn't delight in them. So this tolerating and taking bodily and mental urges His happiness, activities, and goals are within. So he understands that my happiness does not come from material nature. My happiness comes from the soul. I am the soul. I am eternal. I am knowledge. I am bliss. And I have God who is always accompanying me. He is also Satchit Ananda. And I have to connect with him and be happy and do my work. If I do my work, material nature will do its work properly. But if I don't do my work, material nature will produce the results I want. So become fixed in the supreme achieve liberation. So how do you fix my consciousness on this supreme consciousness? So that should be the question. So unless we have true knowledge, we cannot develop this kind of vision to see everything equally. How everything is to my favor. Sometimes we are seeing this is my favor, sometimes this is not to my favor. This is because we have an imperfect understanding. So what is the vision of the self-realized soul? He has no attraction or hatred to matter. Thus he is flawless and impartial like the law. So basically, the devotee is not complaining about his circumstances. He is not complaining about God. He is not complaining about other living entities because he knows how they are functioning properly. It's like I have a machine. I find it a problem, but I go to a mechanic. He doesn't find it a problem. He is able to readily solve it. So being without desire or hatred, one's intelligence does not rejoice or lament. So we understand that this so-called happiness and suffering is a relative position. So you go beyond that. How do you go beyond that? By a higher taste. If you have value for something better in life, then you won't get disturbed by the inferior things which will anyway go wrong. Supposing you're seeing around you so many disturbing situations, but if you have attachment for something sublime, something elevated, then these minor things will not bother you. Intelligent person do not take part in sensual pleasure. The senses pleasure comes in just like an acid is there, it's reacting with the alkali. Immediately there's a reaction. So whatever experience we have in this world are only reactive. You see something, you immediately like it or don't like it. You hear something or touch, immediately there's a reaction because the senses are contacting sense objects. Just like you are seeing something in a movie, it is an arrangement of that. It has been designed like that. The movie has been made that. But if you are detached from all that, you don't feel any effect of it on you. So that's why intelligent person is liberated, does not take part in sensual pleasures. So this fleeting pleasures which come due to contact of the senses and the sense object. Now tolerate the urges of senses and control desires anger by acquiring higher taste. So throughout our life, we should fix a higher and higher goal. And that goal should be based on higher and higher taste. Taste means supposing if something is very good for you, if you develop a taste for it, then you will start accepting it and benefit from it. So uh, that is known as the Brahma Bhuta state. So we have to overcome the six urges, urges of the body, urges of the mind, urges of the tongue, belly, genitals. And this way one can become a Swami or the controller of the senses. He engages in purifying external activities by working for the benefit of others. So when we utilize all our senses as directed by the Supreme Lord Krishna, then we can really benefit others. Unless you benefit others, you cannot be happy. This is the law of nature. The more we think about our problems, our happiness, we more will suffer only. The more we think about what will do good to others, then you can be happy because himself is thinking about everyone's benefit. So if we also think like God for everyone else's benefit, the more we become happy and overcome our problems. So in conclusion, by fixed meditation on the super soul, one soon attains liberation in the near future. So we should always be conscious. How do we be conscious? By hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping. There are many 9 stage methods are there by which you can always be conscious about the Supreme Lord. And the examples are given of the tortoise. The tortoise is able to hatch its eggs. Although it is in the water, the eggs are on the land. While it is meditating on the eggs on the land, in the water, it is able to hatch those eggs. Or the fish, for example, it brings its offspring just by looking at them. It doesn't do anything. Just by looking at the offspring, it can raise them. And the birds are there. They bring their offspring just by touching them. They give the warmth to the eggs and they hatch. So like that, although we are in this material world, if we are always thinking about God, then we can do the best in this world. So in some, what is the way to attain peace? One can become free from desire, fear, and anger. So these are the three main enemies. The more we desire without deserving, the more we become fearful and we become frustrated and anger. So we should be a genuine desire, how to fulfill it and who can fulfill it. This way we become less fearless, and then we can transfer anger to love, fully liberated through Ashtanga Yoga. So there are two ways how to overcome desire, fear, and anger. Either one is the mechanical process, and another is the transcendental process, or Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So in the conclusion, Krishna says, a person in full consciousness of Krishna, who knows Krishna as the supreme controller, benefactor, well-wisher. These three things are the real knowledge. If we accept that Krishna is controlling everything, and Krishna is the, whatever I'm doing, it should be meant for his pleasure, whatever austerities, whatever penances, sacrifices I'm doing. If you always consult with him and follow his direction, then that is one thing. And another, if you have faith that Krishna is my well-wisher, not only of me, but all living entities. So if I want to really do good to others, if I follow this direction, then I can really attain peace. So that is the end here. Any comments, questions are welcome.
Hare Krishna. So I will read out the questions one by one. The first question is from Sudhakar Vyas. He is saying, as it is said that God has given us this birth for some purpose, how do we know that purpose?
Yeah, the purpose of life is given in the Vedas. And Vedas are transcendental. They are not made by a person of this material world. The Vedas are divided into four. The Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. And then Vedas are also elaborated in the Upanishads. And then they have the Puranas, 18 Puranas. And then you have the Itihasas like the Ramayana, Mahabharata. So, but the problem is the modern man has no time or the intelligence to understand all of this. The essence of this is been given in the Bhagavad Gita. Just like Arjuna had very little time to ponder about the purpose of the battle and how to win the battle. So then Krishna gave him this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in a short time by which he could succeed. So the purpose of life is being given in the Bhagavad Gita, and a little detail it's given in the Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam in 7 days to Parikshit, who was destined to die by the bite of Takshaka. So he approached Sukadeva Goswami, who also gave this knowledge, detailed knowledge of Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is knowledge about God, but Bhagavatam is a little more knowledge about God. And with this two knowledge, we can know what is the purpose of life, how to attain it, and who am I. The Bhagavatam is giving many case histories, how people understood what is the goal, how they achieved the goal, and what is the benefit they got.
The second question is from Jyoti. How to apply principles of Bhagavad Gita in life?
First, before applying the principles, we have to understand Bhagavad Gita. And this has to be understood from a person who has understood it. So if that, when understanding is there, then actually you will know how to practically apply. But understanding is not there, or knowledge is not there. First comes knowledge. So you have to first hear. We don't know many things, but at least you should be receptive to know something. Beginning, nobody knows. So if we are submissive and hear it, that is knowledge. And then next step is knowledge comes understanding. So that also you need guidance. Once these two are there, knowledge and understanding is there, then practical application will naturally follow. And still, whether we are applying it properly or not, we come to know under the guidance.
Okay, so the next question is also from Jyoti. Death sentence for culprits is right or wrong? How anybody can take others' life?
Yeah, there's the reason for death sentence also. Why? Because the previously, if you don't kill that person, anyhow he has to suffer the reaction. And that reaction will not be in one lifetime. He has to undergo that punishment in many lifetimes. So better is you, supposing you have a disease is there. You go to one doctor, he calls you, he cures something, and again you go, again third day, fourth day, like the months together it's going. Because you want to avoid the surgery. But then another doctor says, no, this way it won't work. Better we perform a surgery. It is painful, it is costly, but it will cure the disease forever. So like that, if you have committed a murder, there are two ways. One is you suffer the consequences in many lifetimes, or in one lifetime you end that suffering. So this death penalty actually it is awarded with, if it is provided, it is under proper authority, it is beneficial that person because he becomes free from single reaction once and for all, because anyway you're not killing the soul, only the body is affected. So death penalty is right according to the scriptures, provided it is uh, judged by a proper authority. Yeah, the example of Dhritarashtra was there. He killed a bird nest. In that nest, there are many birds. But because of that, there are 100 birds. He had to take many lifetimes so that he can get sufficient credit to get 100 children. And all the 100 children died in his when he was alive itself. So these reactions to our actions may come over many lifetimes. So better is if we suffer in one lifetime. That's why when we take to devotion, sometimes we suffer more than others. One way we becoming free from all these debts. Supposing you have so many debts, instead of carrying this debt forward forever, better is you clear them all once. So like that, this death penalty will free that person from the suffering which continue for many lifetimes. Next.
Arijit Mondal is asking, result of one karma leads to another karma. The detachment with result of first karma itself is a karma which leads another cycle. Then what should we approach? So detachment from results of work is not leading to another karma. That is cutting the karma, because we can have detachment from the results of the work only when we attach ourselves to the Supreme Lord. So that karma becomes a karma. So because when we are doing Nishkam karma without any attachment to result, then we are doing it as a service to God. When we are doing it as a service to God, it becomes a devotional activity. A devotional activity does not have a reaction. So that in terms of a karma fall. So that is why it is advisable to do karma, nishkam karma.
So just like you are working for some company and it's not a big company. So if your quality work is not good, then the company may also get some maybe profit or loss. So that profit or loss is going to affect you. But let us say you're working for a very big company where the profit or loss hardly matters, it's not going to pinch the company, then you still continue get your salary. So like this detachment of work is at different levels. Depending on the level of detachment, the reaction is going to affect you. But the ultimate detachment is when you completely surrender to God, and then he takes care of everything. That's why Krishna says in the end of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Pariji. Because whatever way you want to do dharma, you will end up with this reaction only. That's why very difficult to understand what is karma, vikarma, and akarma. You think that you are free from the results, detached to the work and the results, but invariably you get attached. That's why we see even Dronacharya, he could have avoided this battle. Bhishma could have avoided the battle. Karna could have avoided the battle. But because they were attached, uh, they ended up fighting and suffering consequences. But Arjuna was such a kind of person. If Krishna would have told him not to fight, he would have not fought. If you have told him to fight, he fights. So that is the way to learn detachment.
The next question is from Banashri. Is Buddhi Yoga considered as Bhakti Yoga?
Yes. Basically, Buddhi Yoga means using our intelligence. So now we can use intelligence in different ways, but the ultimate use of intelligence is when we utilize it as directed by Krishna. That is known as Bhakti Yoga. Hmm. Earlier also Krishna talked about Buddhi Yoga, that is Nishkama Karma Yoga, where you are acting intelligently. But no matter how intelligent you may be, there's always something which is binding you. That's why we can see even the most intelligent person are get caught up in some problems. So therefore, the highest use of intelligence is when you do every action as directed by God every moment of your life. So that is Bhakti Yoga. The highest form of Buddhi Yoga is Bhakti Yoga.
So just to give an example.
Because the intelligence is ultimately provided by God. If we use that intelligence exactly as told by God, then it is real Buddhi Yoga.
So just to give an example, when we are studying Bhagavad Gita, we are trying to understand it, and when we are asking questions, what does it mean? We are using our intelligence in trying to understand Gita. And what is Gita? The message of Lord, which is the manual for how to lead the human form of life. So, by doing this activity, we are using our intelligence in the service of God. So, this is Bhakti. So, the next question is also from Vanishri. Are Gyan Yoga and Sankhya Yoga same?
Somewhat similar, but Sankhya Yoga is to understand this material world and live in this world. But Jnana Yoga means, okay, no matter how good this world is, I don't want to be part of this world. You want to get outside this world because this is all relative good. The three modes of material nature are constituting this world. So you want to go beyond the three modes. That is only through Jnana Yoga, where ultimately you reject the system. Sankhya Yoga is you analyze and try to live with the system. Supposing something doesn't work in the system, I try to keep on repairing this. Uh, so that's what Sankhya Yogis are trying to do, they're analyzing what are the problems in this world and trying to solve them. At one stage, you get fed up and no matter how much all they were going to all wrong, let me get rid of this system. So that is through Jnana Yoga. That is liberation. But that is impersonal liberation where you don't accept God as such, but you try to liberate by yourself.
Okay, so the last question so far is from Khushbu Goyal. She is asking why fasting is important. Is the concept of fasting related with the Vedas?
Yes, fasting, just like you have a machine, you have to give it some rest and maintenance. So, but the higher purpose of fasting is you when you free yourself for some work, you have time for doing another work. Actually, we don't survive just by eating. Normally, supposing a person is dying, how much ever food you really cannot digest it. So like that, just it's not just because of the food that we are surviving. There's a digestive force in our body. That is said to be the Lord, known as Vaishwanara force. Only if God sanctions that food can be digested. No matter how much food you eat, how much it's not going to digest unless the Lord is there. So we should understand and respect this system. So fasting is we respect it as God. All these days I'm eating food, but unless you have digested this food, I cannot have existed. So let me offer that this particular day to serve to think about you. So that way you get strength also. Two ways you can get strength. You may think I'm getting strength by eating, but actually, we're getting strength because there's someone who is digesting this food which I'm eating. So this way, on the day of fasting, you express your gratitude to the Lord, and then the Lord is pleased, and that's why people are able to fast on Ekadasi. Some people think they will die if I fast, but some people are effortlessly able to live, stay even without water. Why? Because they have this gratitude.
So there's one more question from Rajat Mishra. Sir, how can one accept the very tough moment in one's life, like losing some near one or losing his livelihood, and ensure that his faith in Lord will get more and more strong in that phase?
Yeah, so there's another important words in the Bhagavad Gita is that the self-realized souls that I'm not suffering alone or I'm not enjoying alone. We understand that there are many number of people who are also suffering like me or enjoying like me. But normally our feeling is I am the only one suffering or I am the only enjoying. That is the cause for our distress. But when we learn that yes, I am not alone in my suffering, I am not alone in my happiness, then we can overcome this problem. So that knowledge we'll get through Bhagavad Gita, which is telling us frankly that no matter whoever it may be, Brahma or the smallest ant, they have the same amount of happiness, the same amount of distress. Only the type of happiness, the type of distress may be different. But in the common, everything has the same amount of happiness and distress. So this knowledge comes from with this knowledge, then we can not be disturbed. And secondly, when you have the association of devotees, just like if you're trying to solve a problem by yourself, it's going to be difficult. But then you're in a society of lawyers. So you have one case before you, I cannot solve it. I consult another lawyer who has more experience. Then we collectively are able to solve a problem. So like that, we have to take reference from scriptures. We have to have faith in the scriptures. We have to have faith in the authorities who are following the scriptures. And also we should learn by our experience.
So trials and tribulations will always be there in life. If we use a trial and tribulation to move away from God, that is a choice that we are making. We will, in fact, when the going is good, it is very easy to have faith. When the going is bad, is when our faith, if we keep, it becomes deeper and our surrender becomes more. And that brings us closer to God.
So although Bhagavad Gita is giving the knowledge, in the Bhagavatam you come across so many instances, case studies, which are eternal knowledge. You can apply it in any circumstances. You can see how many have passed through this experience of life and they have succeeded also. So when we hear such stories, we get the faith. Just like Parikshit was cursed to die in 7 days. So when he heard this Bhagavatam, the same thing which caused him the distress initially became a source of great relief. So,
So that is what we learn, that at the time when we are going through the tough phase, we don't realize it. But if we are keeping our faith at that time, we realize later on that we were able to overcome the tough phase because of the faith, and we got the direction on what to do next because of the faith that we had.
just like during the Second World War, many people were dying in the concentration camps, but few were able to survive. Why? Because they are at that moment the most detached. So nobody can cause pain to you unless you allow them to cause pain to you. That is a fact of life. So, but anyway, this comes through practice. That's why in the next chapter we'll see Krishna tells about knowledge and practice and abhyasena to vairagyena, through practice and detachment. So we'll see about that in the next session.
There are no more questions.
Okay, thank you for your patient hearing. We'll continue next week on the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parish, our host, can end the session.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavane